The Washington Wizards have shocked the NBA world to begin the new season, currently sitting in first in the Eastern Conference with a record of 8-3. After trading Russell Westbrook in the offseason, a majority of NBA fans expected the Wizards to fall out of the playoff picture. But it's looking like quite the opposite of that is happening, with many arguing that the Wizards won the blockbuster trade with their return package paying major dividends currently. But is this just a lucky start? Why are the Washington Wizards so good to begin this season, and can they keep it up? In today's video, I'll be taking a look at the Wizards season so far, the players stepping up that has led them to such a great record early on, and overall discussing whether they are actually legit. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to reach 18,000 subscribers by December, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that all being said, let's talk about the Washington Wizards. As I mentioned, the Wizards are off to a hot start, winning 8 of their first 11 games. It's not like the Wizards have had an easy schedule either. They've played Toronto, Brooklyn, Boston, Atlanta, and the Bucks, just to name a few of the other quality teams that they've played to date. They've beaten all those teams I just mentioned as well, excluding Brooklyn. And in some cases, they beat those teams comfortably, like when they held off Atlanta for an 11-point win, or crushed Milwaukee in a third quarter blitz that resulted in a 7-point win, though it wasn't as close as it seems with the final score. Beating these teams in the fashion that they have, or at the very least, the level of consistency that they have, gives some credibility to their name in my opinion. But what's the reason behind this success for Washington? What's happening on the court that's made them suddenly such a competitive team? Well, the first reason has to be the depth of the squad, as Washington's supporting cast around Beal is one of the best supporting groups in the league. It's that talented and stacked. It's been a while since Bradley Beal has experienced this level of depth around him. This might be the first time ever that he's had this level of talent around him. So now he's becoming a far more effective scorer, and the team's offense is way more effective too. Yes, Beal was a phenomenal scorer last season, but Washington isn't relying on a Beal carry job night in and night out anymore. That spread of the offensive load makes things a lot easier for Beal and has allowed Washington to win a lot more games. So, with that said, let's take a deeper dive into this roster and how the players are meshing together to help the Wizards create a start to the new season that basically no one has expected. The first player we have to talk about is obviously Bradley Beal. While Beal's volume has declined this season, as I mentioned before, that's probably a good thing. Beal is no longer required to shoot 25 shots a game just to give the Wizards a chance at winning the game. He can do his part offensively, lead the starting group, but not have to do everything himself to ensure that the Wizards remain in touch with the opposition. I mean, Beal has objectively struggled to start this season, averaging 23 points per game on below average shooting, though to his credit, he still has had multiple 30-point performances in wins. But my point is, by bringing up his inconsistent and slightly rough start, the Wizards no longer need Beal to be a phenomenal player all the time to win games. If Beal has an off night, like he did against the Cavs, there are players on this roster that can step up, help fill his void and keep Washington in the game, and in turn, lead them to wins. I expect this semi-cold start from Beal to not last much longer. I doubt he'll remain like this for long. But again, if Washington have been this good with just some mediocre play from Beal, that speaks volumes of how far the roster has come over the offseason and what they're now suddenly capable of. So, who's helping out Beal? Kyle Kuzma has been fantastic in his role so far. In 33 minutes of action per game, he's averaging 15 points per game and 9 boards on fantastic shooting splits, currently knocking down a career high 39% of his 3-point attempts, where he's taking 6.5 attempts per game from that range. Kuzma is trusted on this team to get buckets, and though his shot selection has remained a bit questionable at times, we've seen his ability to knock down shots in the clutch time and time again. The 3-pointer against Cleveland the other day as the most recent example. If Kuzma can keep this level of play up, the Wizards are going to continue to be a dangerous offensive team. as Beal won't be the only player the opposition need to focus on. Adding further depth to this team is Montrezl Harrell, who is having a bounce-back season after a rough time in LA. The Wizards have been an abysmal defensive team the past few years, and while they certainly still aren't great, Harrell has been a positive on that end for the first time in his career, with a defensive box plus minus of positive 1.2. In general, Harrell has been super impactful, 6th in the entire league in box plus minus with positive 6.1, and 3rd in the entire league in win shares per 48 minutes, only behind Nikola Jokic and Jimmy Butler. That's just insane. I'm definitely not suggesting Harrell's an MVP candidate like those two players above him are, but it's clear Harrell has found his role on Washington and is executing in it to the highest level, proving his legitimacy as a top role player in the league, and why he deserved that 6th Man of the Year back in 2020. A lot of people seem to forget how good Harrell was back then. So now in Washington, with him starting to regain confidence in himself, he's returning to that level of play, evident through the stats that I've shown today. It appears that Harrell is now one of the more valuable players on this roster, and without a doubt will be a major factor in Washington continuing this surprising start to 2022. In the offseason, I made a video about Washington and why they still may be a playoff team in 2022. And a big reason why I thought that was because of the addition of Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie is a proven true scorer and has been able to lead otherwise average teams to a playoff spot, such as the run with Brooklyn to the 7th seed in the bubble, even without Kyrie and Durant. Unfortunately, significant injuries have held him back the last couple of seasons, so he's still finding his form, but his offensive creation talents have been massive in this opening stretch for Washington. Like Kuzma, when Beal has an off night, Dinwiddie has the talent to back him up, as well as simply provide alternate options for Wes Unseld to run the offense through. Beal is a decent off-ball player, so Dinwiddie can provide the opportunity for Beal to utilize that skill set rather than constantly being on ball. Again, even if Beal is balling out, Dinwiddie has still been a great piece alongside him and really diversifies this Wizards offense. Daniel Gafford and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope have also provided solid rotational minutes for Washington. In 19 minutes per game, Gafford is averaging 8 and 5 and is shooting a great percentage from the field. His defense in his minutes has also been very solid. The rim protection he provides is key to the Wizards, especially considering that Harrell is undersized, so he's been great so far. While KCP certainly can be better considering he's getting 30 minutes a game, I still think he's paramount to the culture that Washington is creating, so I do like his play so far on this team. But those are all the key players that I wanted to focus on today. If you hadn't noticed, while I've gone through these key players on this squad, there's a common theme with the bulk of these guys. This squad is made up of a bunch of players who were considered to be scrubs, or players without a future for some reason or another. They're all hungry to prove everyone wrong and bounce back. Beal, KCP, Harrell, Dinwiddie, and Kuzma. There's a reason why this unit has connected. The group is tight and all have a common theme with where they are at in their career. This is a redemption year for a lot of them, and so far, they're doing exactly that. And that's why I wanted to focus on those plays specifically today, because the belief these guys have is a major driving force for their early season success. With that said though, there's a couple other reasons why Washington have been so good so far. One is their new coach, Wes Unseld. Unseld has been a major contributor in turning this team around. I really like the lineups that he's running and the overall game plan and rotations. I don't think they win the game against Cleveland without him, to be honest. He ran some great plays in the clutch. I'm not sure why it took Washington so long to fire Brooks, but now that he's gone and has been replaced with the perfect coach for the team, they're reaping the benefits. Washington have also been a solid team defensively this season, which is kind of crazy to say considering how terrible they've been in previous seasons. It is early, so do take these stats with a grain of salt as they do alter basically every other day right now, but so far this season, Washington has had the second best defensive rating in the entire league. That's just wild. they're also holding their opponents to the worst 3-point shooting in the league and 5th lowest field goal percentage. Again, this is a wild turnaround, and it's largely due to the new focus with Unsold as a head coach, as well as the new additions to the squad, and it's resulting in wins upon wins for the Wizards. But with that all being said, are the Washington Wizards the real deal? Realistically, maintaining this win rate is unlikely, as they're yet to play a lot of contending teams such as Miami. But to the credit of Washington, they have won plenty of games they should win, and have beaten legit contenders in the process, like Milwaukee and Atlanta. Will they stay as the first seed throughout the season? Almost certainly not. But will they remain a legit playoff side? At this point, I have to say yes. If I have to be specific, even though it's still early, I think Washington can be a top 6 seed for sure this season, and probably won't fall lower than 9th at this rate. The team is deep, fundamentally sound, and now have a good coach to pair with one of the best scorers in the league in Bradley Beal, who hasn't even been at his top form. Things are looking really good in Washington, and though we should expect a bit of a drop-off at some point, Washington have done enough, in my opinion, to suggest that they are legit. The Wizards are on track to be the biggest surprise of the 2022 NBA season, and perhaps earn a criminal record in the process for absolutely robbing the Los Angeles Lakers in that blockbuster trade a few months ago. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good are the Washington Wizards to you? Can they make the playoffs this season, and how long will their hot start last? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.